Welcome to Psychic Evolution with evidential psychic medium Jamie Clark and spiritual coach and healer Maggie Clark.
And welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jamie Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is the podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts.
And these abilities are so natural. They're supernatural.
And today we have our guest, Viviane Chauvet, back. Now, she was in season 3, episode 17, and we have had so much fun talking with her, spending time with her, but really getting down to some really interesting subjects about aliens. She herself is an Arcturian hybrid. That means she's from another dimension, another planet, and she is, of course, part human, but she really has worked to develop her connections with the alien realm, and she's just amazing. She has a ton of credentials for healing, and her website is infinitehealingfromthestars.com. She's also a radio host and a podcast host, and her podcast is the Infinite Star Connections podcast. So she is right up our alley. Last season, we had her on talking about her journey growing up as a hybrid, learning what that was like, and really, really getting us in tune with that frequency. And we soaked it up. We loved it. And we had to bring her back because we realized, oh my gosh, there's so much more we can talk to this beautiful person about for developing your psychic gifts, what's going on in the world that we can't see, that she's connected to in a different relationship. And I truly believe that all of this is a study of relationships. No matter what we're dealing with, relationship within, without, above, below, here on the planet, and then, of course, off planet. And so welcome, Viviane. Thank you so much for returning.
Oh, you are most welcome. It's wonderful to come back here at season 4. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure. So my team always rejoices. They always says, yes, we need to do this.
Yeah.
You always tell me
And lots
exactly
more.
where we need to be. So wonderful.
Now, as we were having the conversation last time, and you were sharing the fact that multiple times where you offered an opportunity that if you chose to go physically off planet and to hang out in one of the ships that are there, where I believe that you could live the rest of your life with the experience and viewpoint of the planet Earth. With that being the case, is it locked into only the Arcturian vibration? Is it open for an intergalactic connection with other species that are here to help this planet? Or how does that work on those ships?
Fantastic question as always. It's all of the above, actually. So the opportunities that I was given was to allow me to continue my mission, but off planet. And they said, okay, you know what? We understand the challenge. We understand what you're going through. And so we're going to give you, and when I say they, it's my star family, my Arcturian collective, decided in the midst of my mission to says, we're going to create a junction for you. And if you wish, we'll take you off planet physically. So there's no debt. It's like moving countries. I've been moving off planet, going back to living permanently on the starship commanded by my father, my Arcturian father. And there will be the way, like you mentioned, Jamie, will be a point of view of continuing what I need to do, my work, but from an off-planet perspective. And of course, my Arcturian collective, Arcturians are very involved in different councils, including the Star Regency councils in different ways. So we are in a constant state of partnership with other interstellar groups. In fact, part of the crew on board of several of our ships are not just exclusive Arcturians, they are also ET beings or star beings from other systems. So we have part of our permanent crews that just came in partnership and decided to serve on our ship with us. But we are in a constant state of intergalactic partnership, if you want to call it this way. So yes, on both sides.
And with that ability to be able to be brought out, that gave you the empowerment to go, if I'm staying here, it's because I choose to. But not only that, with other masters that have been on this planet, is there a potential that maybe, I don't know, somebody like Jesus or another ascended master might be and have gone on one of those ships and has been hanging around the whole time? How does that potentially work? Do you know?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We are also in partnership with the spiritual hierarchy of this earth. So, Master Sananda, we are connecting through him. I work personally with other masters. I have seen personally Sanat Kumara, Lord Buddha, and personal interactions with them alongside with Master Sananda. So we are. It's think of it this way: we have very powerful planetary ships where we are constantly having councils, meetings, interactions with either masters, other form of beings of light who comes. It's a really great. Think of it as a level of like federation of a united nation, if you want. Okay, in that sense, we work in partnership with the masters, especially those who are very attuned or very assigned to the earth, to the organic timelines of ascensions, looking in terms of the different regency councils are also attached to the galactic federations, whether it's from Sirius B, and that's another point of connections where we go having a council there, a meeting if you want. The Andromedan Council, it's another one we've been very active with. We work also a lot with the Lyrans. In fact, I have had Lyrans physically come in my space and show themselves to me to says, hey, remember that we know you are, so we are in that direct connections. So the partnership extend beyond just our group because it's a collective effort. It's a unification of many form of intelligence coming together, especially not just for the Earth, but also the evolution of this entire galaxy. There's a lot of repercussion moving out through the galaxy, the Milky Way, and elsewhere in the multiverse.
And then for our listeners, I'm familiar with the term Sananda, but that refers to Jesus Christ, correct? The Christ consciousness?
Ah, that's a great question indeed. Our apology. We take it for granted that Master Sananda, the name is familiar. It's a more of a galactic name that we recognize him as. So we're referring to Master Jesus in his ascended form. So Christ consciousness, it's the consciousness in which we can embody for ascension. And Jesus, as we've known him here on this earth, have reached a level of ascension. On the intergalactic level, we know him as Master Sananda.
Now,
Of
with
course.
that ability to learn from the planet Earth in this case and help us, is there a lot of other beings that are on these ships that are learning that are actually able to take a lot of what they learn to apply it to their own home planet, better themselves just by being the observers of another world?
Most definitely. There's the ones who's called more watchers, and it's not a watcher in the way that we have heard into your Earth histories. There's a lot of observers that would be a more in sync words, where they come to understand how the unification of the consciousness work, the mechanism, the archetypes behind it. So they come and they learn, they extract a lot of information, and they're able to bring that up to either their space, their reality, their dimension where they're evolving. There's a lot going on. So think of your Earth, how diversified it is, how much there is a lot of interconnections, partnerships between countries, cultures, families, unit. So that structure on a very micro level is really extended into a more universal level. It's not more just intergalactic at that point, it's more universal, where there's a lot of partnership interactions theory. There's also sometimes just the art of observing, then those beings also contribute just by their presence, and they will come and anchor living life consciousness. And that living light consciousness helps for the development or the adjustment of the timelines or the organic adjustment that we need to do. So there's a lot going on. Think of us as teachers on wheels or masters on wheels, except we have fleet, and we have fleet posted pretty much everywhere moving to the multiverse in places that you wouldn't even remember or you wouldn't even comprehend that exists, and we're there.
Now, are there any kind of like we have rules and laws like do not hurt other people, don't steal? Are there any intergalactic laws that on average we're to adhere to and work with in some way?
Absolutely, there are cosmic laws that we need to abide by in accordance to the law of one, a prime creator. Of one of the laws that we really are very keen on for us is the law of non-interference, meaning that you can provide assistance, you can provide consciousness, teachings, guiding. At the same time, the development of a consciousness of a civilization, it's absolutely not to be tampered with. Let's just put it this way, Maggie and Jamie, is that we have witnessed the destructions of worlds. We have witnessed the destructions of planets. And we have also seen and witnessed the repercussion of millions of souls in a multitude of incarnations to heal the stigma of what has been done, not only from the planet that get destroyed, but for those who contribute to this destruction of the planet. And it's huge. So the reverence for all life is one of our prime directive, if you want to call it this way for us. Reverence for all life, protection of all life. We are very, very keen on that. So this is why in order to really understand and grasp the Arcturian way, you really need to align with them to really understand the essence of our work. It's always to stimulate the empowerment of an entire civilization in the midst of such an important transformation. We are assisting along with you as opposed to do the work for you. And that's also reflecting in the session that we provide. Sometimes people will come and sit in front of the screen like this and said, "Well, you don't need anything from me because you're gonna know everything." I'm like, "Oh, not really. Let me working with you, and then we'll see that the partnership will gonna be a lot more effective for you than if we just sit there and blurb everything that we see on your behalf." So I'm really bringing a three-dimensional example that we can relate to as practitioners, light workers. And of course, for those who are ready to do the work, and it's always an invitation to expand to a more fuller, higher aspect of you, and it's done in partnership. And it's the same way, intergalactic level.
Beautiful. Now, that brings up an interesting question to me, and that is with the ability to gain insight about technology, are there limitations to a planet's gifting of technological knowledge? Like, would it be detrimental to them? Are they only be able to give so much ability and interaction? How does that work?
No, absolutely. It's all about consciousness. So technology that are consciousness assisted, that is a whole different ball game, if you want, a whole different level. That's just technology for the sake of advancement. So I will give you an example. My team always give me this image, and it's just a neutral image. It has no connotation to anyone or to no civilizations. Would you give the atomic bomb formula to a 5-year-old? The answer is no, only because the level of intelligence, the consciousness, the comprehension, the maturation that needs to come with understanding what you hold within your hands are absolutely vital and key element to prevent catastrophic effect and preserving life and reverence of life. So again, it's just a neutral example. We're pointing no one to the fingers as we understand. But would you do that? Would you take a PhD level class and take it to a sixth grader? There's gap in between
Could
that the
you?
evolution needs, right? You're
Right,
gonna go,
yeah,
"Oh, you're
exactly.
frying my circuits."
How is it the Arcturians that know the level of what they can handle technology? How does that consciously work with the planets like that edge, if that's too much?
I know where you're coming from, Jamie. So from our history, from we too have learned a great deal from our past. I remember that when you look at a civilization, an intergalactic group like ourselves, the Arcturians, we have evolved over millions of years. So we have learned a few tricks along the way, so to speak. So part of our history is that what we do is we approach consciousness, piece to piece. We're going to approach government or the leaders of a world, like say your planet, group of Arcturians have approached government a long time ago with the desire to bring conscious information and ways to empower the population, self-healing, resources on the planet, things that really uplift everyone, which generates no monetary profit because this is beyond the point. And we were turned down. We're not interesting enough because they were interested more in terms of the technology. Give us your secret, give us your advanced weaponry, give us aspect, and then we're going to incorporate that in the name of protection or national defense or national interest. Well, we said, okay, let's extract our interest and apply it to planetary interest. How about that one? And we were told no. And then they turn around and make deal with other groups, but not us. Because what we have to offer was too ethereal, too spiritual.
You honored that you're not going to push it. We're not supposed to.
No.
We're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And I think that became a very big key to success is if they're receiving information, technology, any of those, can we share the information to help be properly used to benefit the entire planet, not just the select few? Now, some of the groups and beings that we're connected to, they put just a very basic energy to go, okay, we got that moon, that satellite thing, it's created kind of thing. And you know what? Once that planet's technologically advanced enough to get themselves to that moon, that's an indicator that they're at this level of consciousness. Does that happen in some ways for other worlds, in other ways? How does that happen?
Oh, absolutely. So think of it as we offer partnership for many other worlds, many civilizations who are at different level of state of consciousness. So we see that our world, for example, needs assistance, but they're really at a high peak of conscious evolution. Then the assistance, how it will be received and welcomed and accepted, will be an indicator that says, okay, this civilization in particular, they're ready to accept. They are ready to evolve. They're ready to integrate in a higher form whatever conscious technology, teaching, methodology, modalities, and so forth. And then we can always, work with them always when it's in resonance, what is appropriate for that civilizations without interfering or creating a fork in the timeline for their own evolution. So we always align ourselves with prime supreme intelligence, the one mind or universal intelligence, to make sure that what we are bringing is an alignment for them. And then from there, the partnership evolve.
As that's been evolving, have they ever shared any information and insight about the Atlanteans or Lemurians or possibly others that have no recognition that we've never been aware of that were here, like the Atlanteans and others?
Well, that's a great question because even before the first Atlantean project came about, just on the verge, we witnessed a lot of activity. There was a complete different life form of one of the other planet. If you look at Mars, for example, Mars, we know that it has been proven, researched. We know that there's been traces of water structure left behind, and more than that, even into the core of the planet, there's a lot of life there. But before it got to that point, Mars was known even to us and even to our councils that Mars was capable of holding life. It has a perfect tropical climate and a perfect storm of bioenergy, if you want, that the planet could hold. And we have witnessed over thousands of years, that's nothing happened overnight, but over a period of thousands of years, we have witnessed the entire ecosystem of a planet shifted on its axis and absolutely wipe out any form of possibility of life that was there. So whoever was on the planet and there was one of the civilizations we were very, very close to, they have to evacuate. They have to leave altogether and leave behind the civilizations they have built there over thousands of years. That was pre-Atlantean project, the first one. And then after that, there was a lot of genetic material that was brought over from that Project Mars over to Earth as a safekeeper to continue, as an attempt to continue for life to evolve in a higher state consciousness, always in resonance and oneness with universal mind, with Supreme Source. And then after that, we know what happened with the different stages of Atlantis. And even before that, with Lemuria, where there was a huge conflict between Lemuria and Atlantis. And as a result, greed took it over, lower frequencies of consciousness took it over. And the distortion of the sacred gift or the sacred connections to Supreme Source start to interfere, and then life and the rest is history. But I have worked before with clients who have crystal clear memories of their time on Lemuria and Atlantis, and they remember the conflict. They remember that there was also a discrepancy, so to speak, an imbalance between the sacred polarity of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Then technology took over, the misuse of sacred resources, and then power took it over. It says, I am better than God, or I'm better than Source, and I'm going to manipulate life. And as a result, the catalyst effect that it has created, and of course, Lemuria was gone first, and Atlantis came back a few times until higher form they realized that will never be prevail. We won't be able to preserve Atlantis. And then that was the birth, the beginning of ancient Egypt, ancient Egypt, when the sacred flame of ascension was taking over to ancient Egypt for safekeeping. And with the school of mystery, with the high priest or high priestesses, it's part of the history of the earth that really creates a lot of sadness to see how the sacredness of life have been tampered with and misused, if we are to use those words.
I think it allows us to feel normal that we have egos and we have imbalance in our culture between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. I think it's almost reassuring to know that we aren't the only ones. It's not just human beings that are mucking up the ethers of energy, especially spiritual energy, but there have been other cultures and other races that have come across the same types of dynamics that we are processing through as a whole of humanity. And again, the ascension process of helping all of that see a bigger picture so that things can be more unified, within ourselves, but within cultures and as a race, as in a whole. It's just amazing to watch.
Are there a good portion of maybe people or planets that will use the benefits of what's being shared and do heal themselves as a planet or as an organization or person?
Oh, naturally, absolutely. And so think of it this way, we always joyfully share what we know, what we understand, the way we're perceiving realities or knowledge. And the goal behind it is really you narrow it down is to really empower everyone, giving your own empowerment, your own ability to heal. We're here to simply as a catalyst to remind you of who you really are when you're capable to do, which means it's something similar at just a different level that we do the same to other planet, other system. So we adapt according to the civilizations we are encountering. For example, if we help a civilization already have reached a six-dimensional conscious way of living, then there will be some level of guidance, technique, or even language that will be necessary for them to carry through. So we adapt to where you are right now. So we have been very hands-on in terms of practical help, practical assistance, teachings, healing the soul. We're very master at healing the soul, restoring your soul matrix, allowing yourself to going from a fragmented individuality and return to a regenerated state of oneness. And I really summarize that movement going from to. So think of it as concept can be applied to other worlds. There are other civilizations who are on the third dimensional plane of reality, but it's just a higher level. So for example, for them, psychic ability, what we call psychic abilities, is just a natural occurrences for them. Okay? It's already there. It's part of the day to day. What you mean, telepathic, it's part of our everyday. So when we assist and we collaborate in partnership with the civilization at that level, then there's other ways that we can do this because we understand they already have transcended certain evolutionary stage or step, if you want. Where we are right now, as this phase, as the stage of where we are, it is very important to bring this really high level of frequency, knowledge, wisdom, dialogue to a point that is comprehended at many forms. So we're not just talking to your mind, but we're talking to your heart and to your inner being. So we always invite people, listen with your body, listen with your senses, listen with your heart, because you understand more that your mind will let you to believe. That makes sense.
I always say we can talk ourselves in or out of anything. We'll never fool ourselves with that feeling, language of the soul. Now, that brings up an interesting dynamic for me because, one, I'm a psychic medium. Two, everyone is. Three, I think that our brothers and sisters know that if you're doing mediumship connected with a loved one, you're doing the connection with our galactic and intergalactic brothers and sisters. I always say mediumship, whether it's God, angels, Jesus, if you're talking to them, you're doing mediumship, right? Aren't they beings outside of a physical body when they choose to?
My team understand the multi-layer, your beautiful multi-layer questions. We understand the different subtleties within it. So think of it this way. On the three-dimensional human aspect, I know labels are very important. Names, how you identify yourself as. So whether you call yourself a psychic, a medium, or psychic medium, an intuitive, in all of the above, ultimately, is to recognize that those natural abilities, you were born with them. And some people, like yourselves, both of you, actually, Jamie and Maggie, are example are people who are really in touch and you understand that this is what you do and how you connect with either it's a loved ones, whether it's a guardian, whether it's a presence of the light, whether it's an advanced, benevolent, enlightened star being. And I put those words there to really precise what kind of consciousness and energy you connect to. The basics is we always says, in case of doubt, go back to your light, anchor yourself back to your light, because the light cannot coexist in the same field or the same vibration as fear, doubt, anxiety, or deception. So in case of doubt, step back, take a deep breath, deep breathe through the gateway of your heart and invite your light in. Let your light take it over. Let your light dissolve any form of residuals of doubt, anxiety, presence that you have fear about. Let everything dissolve. You will feel the stabilization coming through. When you are in that stabilization state, now the clarity comes through. You can listen to your clairs, your intuition. You know what you know without knowing how you know this, and so forth. Okay? That will be is the very basic. The second protocol we always recommend is in the presence of intelligence, whether identify as an archangel, an angel, a master, a presence of the light, an elemental, a star beings, regardless of the shape or form, ask 3 times in a row, are you of the highest light? Are you of the highest light? I say, are you of the highest light? That simple protocol reset everything in its place. Anything lower than the perfection of light will either get impatient or won't be able to stay in that same space. They will go away. And I've seen that multiple times over and over. Yes.
This is awesome because we have so many people where they doubt their ability to stay safe and protected. And when they doubt themselves, all it does is it hides their light. And this is such a beautiful easy example of how easy it is. And I must agree wholeheartedly with you. When I was in precarious situations in my journey, I did have to ask that question, are you from the light? And it's it would they you can't lie if you are not of the light. It's just such an amazing to me it was like, well, if they were really not from the light, they could just say no, yes, no. I mean, they could lie, right? But they can't. And so do you see that as a an intergalactic type of rule or regulation that they can't lie if they are not from the light?
That's a great question, Maggie, and I'm sure both of you have gone through this kind of experiences where there may be an energy or a presence that wants to come in the form of saying, I'm Saint Germain or I'm Ashtar Command. And that's one of the popular ones. And the energy comes any form of duality, polarized energy, dark energy, they come and they always take on the form of angels, archangels, star beings. And they also think that they can come and pretend to be Arcturians, which just makes me smile. But yes, by invoking the light, when you have reached a level of enlightenment, you understand the kind of protocol of communication. You understand what is behind all of this. So the concept of lying to deceive is non-existent. So of course they're going to be compliant. They're going to say, yes, I am of the light. What else do you need to know? Now, what else do you need?
An interesting dynamic, and that is, as humans, they're apparently allowed to not be so truthful. There's my thing is where's the click point between a planetary not being able to say the truth and then an intergalactic having to say the truth? Because that's very interesting to me that if it's on an intergalactic scale, why is one little planet allowed to have its own cell of communication or lying or whatever the case is? How does that work, possibly?
What a beautiful mental concept, and we're happy to talk about this. Think of it this way, it's beyond just the Earth or one planet have allowed themselves to be beyond, truth and light and integrity. It's simply that those concepts exist within this reality, where in other form of conscious reality, those concepts are non-existent, meaning that if you reach a level of ascension, like let's say like an ascended master, for example, like Buddha, Sananda, Tanakumara, beautiful Serapis Bey, and others. Or you take an Arcturian, for example, a true Arcturians, not a being pretending to be Arcturians, because we see that a lot on the planet. A genuine Arcturian or a genuine Lyran, an Andromedan. Those concepts of lying to deceive, something that we have overcome, understood a long, long time ago. How can we reach a level of enlightenment and ascension if we're still trapped into those mental concepts? It will be impossible. So think of it this way: it's the same thing as living in a polarized field. Why is it still going on in this reality where it may be non-existent elsewhere? That's because this is the state that you are evolving through in order to come back to a state of oneness and understanding who you are. So, of course, human beings, there's a lot of labels around human beings. We have a profound respect and love for human beings because we see you for much more than most people see themselves as. So the capability, the potential is there. And we know that you're going to be able to go beyond those archetypal, whether it's mental grids, whether it's paradigm put in place to make you believe, or it's human to make a mistake. It's one of my favorite cliches. It's okay, you're only human, you're allowed to make mistakes. What is it even coming from? The polarized field. And this is, of course, our perspective.
Yeah, and I will encourage all of our listeners to take this suggestion of tuning yourselves into the light, whatever that feels like to you. After your last show in the last season, I practice the Taurus heart field that you are talking about. And for our listeners tuning in right now, that's season 3, episode 17. I practice that and I had a huge, huge opening of my heart where I literally could feel the Taurus energy of my heart, and I could allow it to expand. I felt safe and I felt expanded, and I felt like I could encompass this whole planet. And I had never seen the Taurus field in my mind sight from my heart center like that expressive and active and just like beaming. And so I really encourage our listeners to maybe take heart to the things that we talk about and what we're asking you to do sometimes or talking you through, because this opened my heart more to love and to this planet. And I know that just tuning yourself to light is going to help a lot of people listening to this podcast, because being safe and feeling safe is something of a luxury for a lot of human beings. And as we grow into our potential, as we develop our psychic gifts, knowing that we just need to be ourselves and to learn what our light is ultimately where all the good stuff happens. And so I just want to just remind all of our listeners just to feel the light within you, feel it just be, it is who you are, and just tune into that light. And if you need to visualize a spark or visualize a beam or visualize a star, do whatever works for you, because I visualized a Taurus field in my heart and it opened tremendously. So thank you.
Oh my God, you are most welcome. This is truly a huge aspect of my presence here, is to inspire at that level, even gifted people like both of you. And that, that really, how could I say that? It so much confirmed my confirmation validation of how much I made the right choice by staying on the planet, as opposed to continuing my mission off planet. It's just, the difference is so palpable. So I'm very honored. Thank you.
Ability to be here in the physical flesh, I think, is a big contributing factor. I always question the fact that, well, they basically, this universe was potentially created 14 billion years ago. Well, I'm willing to bet we don't look the same as we do on other worlds as we do here. So the variance was giving that planet comfort to go, hey, if you're in a human form, I'm in a human form and I'm going to look like you. And, you got that. Because if they didn't, and it was the ascended master from other worlds coming here, that could be like they were 40 heads, they're purple, and people be freaking out. But have
Yes.
you seen that? Is it all about a lot of comfort to give from the way shower so that they do blend in and not stand out so much?
Oh, absolutely, Jamie. It's a good point because it's part of bringing comfort and reassurance that what we're here for is to serve your highest and best. And we're here to, as friends, as partners, as family of light. I've always used this example, and so thank you for reminding me. If I were in my original Arcturian form, let's say 12 feet tall, very lanky, no hair whatsoever, 3 long digit, beautiful translucid skin, my face a little bit more elongated, and I come to you and says, would you interview me on your show and I'll do a meditation for a group? I don't think so. Maybe you too would say yes, but
I would.
overall,
I
I
feel
know
like, yeah. And what vehicle? Great.
both of you would say, come on in. But the most majority, go like, oh, you will not relate to me, or you will not relate to us in the same way as you can relate now. This is one very important aspect, that also why when we talked about sending out very potent, very direct assistance to the earth, and I said, let's bring a very unique prototype, a hybrid body that contain enough human spark energy or human gene pool, mix with our gene pool, so to speak, so I can be physically navigate to the earth plane. I understood that looking more human than ET was absolutely crucial. Crucial. Because I've said that even, when I doing my events, whether it's in person or online, and then I would say, yes, imagine me entering the room and you came to listening to my lecture or workshop, and I'm like 12 feet tall just to begin with. You would go, most people will either run out the door or have an impact that they can even damage their body. And others will go, well, it took me a while to adapt, but I like it. But you will not receive the message the same way. So it has a huge impact. So that's the fun example I always use. So imagine me in my
Oh,
Arcturian
yeah.
form. I have seen myself in my Arcturian form. I love my Arcturian form. It belongs on the ship, but not here right now. Maybe one day, but not now.
Now, with that connection, have they shared the reason for so many of these beautiful religions and how all of these different perspectives are allowed to exist at the same time? Has there been anything shared about God as an entity and then truly as an energy vibration consciousness? Or how has that been shared?
And that's a really profound question because those concept of what God is about, it's something has been shared through multitude of teachers who have walked the earth. If you look at history, let's go back to Jesus. Hmm? The character, the person, when he came in as a hybrid. He came in already with consciousness, with gifts, with abilities that could absolutely cannot be comprehended 2,000-3,000 years ago. But what was the profound of message is not I am just the son of God and a God that you have to fear in the sky is let me show you the path back to divine consciousness, brotherhood, sisterhood. Let me show you what you can do and who you are. Allow me to remind you. Allow me to show you the path. I'm very simplifying. I'm bringing more like the principle, the very, very simple principle. But then, of course, it got turned into something else. And I want to share something, a real life experience. One of a member, beautiful member of our community in Arizona passed away. Her name was Denise. She was known as Araya. Beautiful princess of Egypt in her past life. Beautiful lady. And when I've learned of her transformation, her passing, friends and family have chosen to honor her transition, honor her in a Catholic church, a beautiful service, and I was invited to. So, of course, I said yes because I was there to honor her and also her friends and family in that transition of the light. So, I'm sitting at the very back of the church all by myself, and I have a lot of beings around me, including my team. And I felt the presence of Sananda, so I start to look at the painting on the walls. And I said, Sananda, how do you feel about all this? What is your take about how you are being depicted over and over and over thousands of years later? And of course, what I felt is an tremendous love and compassion and almost like a little bit touch of sadness. And of course, this is my human interpretation. Sananda is enlightened. But he understands that the depiction is only focusing on suffering, pain. And the priests who perform the ceremony, remember, I'm there to honor the soul of that beautiful being and honoring the family and the friends. I'm holding a space in high consciousness with respect and love, of course. And throughout the service, the priest must have repeated the word sacrifice probably 10 times. So, of course, I talked to my team. I said, that's a very heavy word. And they said, yes, because it will perpetuate a level of patterns and teachings that through sacrifice, this is how you reach source. And I'm like, well, I am coming with source right now. Do I need to sacrifice myself? The answer is no. So I have exactly all of these dialogues as I'm there to honor the transition into the light of a beautiful member of our community who came to me so many times for help and teachings, and I want to honor her. But what I was doing there is I was also observing members who came, and I can tell you, I felt deeply in their consciousness that they could not agree or they couldn't connect to the speech or the words that was conveyed to them. So it showed me how much awakening has already taken on the planet, even within a religion service surrounded by paintings. And there was this one painting of Sananda in this light like this. And when I look at the painting, Sananda give me a transmission of the heart. It's through his heart, through my heart, I receive a transmission of light right there in that church. And it's just, they told me, remember, this is just a structure. What is important is what you bring with you. It's what you have done today. It's the consciousness you've been holding everyone in their highest light, including the priest and those who are very engaged in the narratives.
You bring up a very interesting dynamic, and that is, I always share just my awareness, and that is, do you really think that there's only one Jesus who goes around when more than one person calls on him at the same time? He's not going, got a gunshot, gotta go. And you're validating, you're sitting there beautifully at the back of the place, and he's sitting there vibing with you beautifully and communicating, giving you insight with clarity, not disjointed like I got a bunch of other me's. It's, do people get that? Can they comprehend that fact that there are as many Jesuses as there are perceivers, as many worlds as there are perceivers? How has that been shared with you?
That is a profound question. And the answer to that is that it relates back to accepting that we are galactic hologram in multidimensional in nature. More and more people from all different culture, background, uprising, wherever you come from, what is your upbringing was. More and more we notice the acceptance that aspect of me who speak with you right now. It only an aspect, a fragment of me. So think of it as a prism of light. We like to give imagery so we can all relate to. The prism of light will reflect a multitude of rays and a multitude of aspects. Ultimately, it's still the same prism of light, but it's reflecting into different light and different expression, different aspects. So think of it this way. That day, honoring this beautiful member of a community here in Arizona, honoring her, talking to Sananda at the same time as I talk to my team, at the same time as I see beings walking in the church, and I have seen the soul essence of this person that we were come to honor. She came behind the priest and was going like this. She was waving her hand with her smile and her energy in her eyes, youth, full of life, full of light. She was telling me, hey, I'm here. Remember, this is me right here. Hoo-hoo. Don't look at what you see laying down in the aisle. I'm right here. And I even shared that to her best friend. I told her, I said, Marilyn, I said, she's here. She was behind the priest waving at everybody. But did you have the consciousness to see her? That's because if your heart is sad and grieving and heavy, it will filter, it would put veil around your perspective, your perception. And when we simply say, heal your heart first, your perception will come back to clarity. Your heart is everything. So it goes back to the question you asked. Yes, there's a multitude aspect of us. How many higher self do we have? Oversoul, supreme self. We are infinite. Imagine the masters. Imagine an archangel, right?
That brings up an interesting dynamic for me, and that is, in other countries, I've heard that there have been yogis, people in a spiritual way, that are able to lay their physical bodies down while people are eyeballing that person laying down quietly. And then other people in the town are seeing the very same people, the person who's laying down, he's physically interacting with other people consciously. And then they're looking back, they go, that physical vehicle is here, and yet there's another physical vehicle there. Is there the potential that maybe JC had some quantum physics knowledge or something, and that he knew that that was the potential case of vibrational patterns that can seem just as solid as anything else and nothing solid, but that maybe that's another contributing factor why that big old rock didn't have to be moved and he disappeared? Were you ever shared any insight in any way about maybe some of that dynamic with JC?
Well, absolutely. You are said it right yourself, Jamie. Everything is in a constant vibrational state. So what happier solid or what happier? So let's just say that I biolocate myself. Okay. Let's say I am in my home and I think about you two and I say, oh, I want to pay a visit to Jamie and Maggie today, right? I want to communicate and say hello. So I can biolocate consciously depending on my level of consciousness and what level of ability I have reached. well, I can bilocate in the sense that to you, I will appear as solid, as real as I just knock on your door, you open the door, and I walk in. While at the same time, my physical form, or my original point of connections in physical form, still in my house, maybe miles away. But again, it's a matter of perception, vibrational state, projection. How many of you, including you two, how many of you even listening, at some point in time have you seen a solid wall turn into a vortex of light, just like you can almost put your hands through it?
Or the floor becomes pure energy state going, what the flagnog? Yeah, that's shifting
Exactly.
consciousness. That can be freaky deaky, man.
Completely. I have seen the walls of my house becoming pure vortexes of energy, just stargates, where I could even see the swirl of energy moving in a way, a certain rotation, clockwise movement that was inviting me to go through that wall, travel to the white tunnels of the universe, and taking me to a complete different location. And that's many, many years ago. I remember that one time what had happened. The first time, not the one time, multiple times, but the first time, my team said, whoa, hold on. You're staying in your dimension. You're not moving to that wall. Right. Hold your thoughts. Because I'm a little adventurer. I'm like, ooh, I want to put my finger in it. They said, no. Just observe, acknowledge that it's there, and that's it. So it's the same way. It's we are learning to trust more our extrasensory or multidimensional sensory. Now we are moving beyond physicality, linear thinking, linear way of abiding by a certain time construct that we have been programmed to. Like this cup is solid, I'm molding it, it's called a cup, a whole tea, and yeah, it says cat mama on it.
I love it.
Thank you, that's a gift from my daughter. But the thing is, it's all of this that we are abiding by, like the time we agree to meet. It's only because we are agreeing to meet and merge our realities at a junction of time that we call 3 o'clock on the clock. That it says. So we are redefining everything. Our reality, it's being redefined right now. This is why compassion to yourself, love, patience, self-acceptance, understand there's just much more to you. If you accept that about you, then imagine the world you are existing and vibrating in. There's more to it as well, right? It's all come together.
Viviane, please share with us how people can get in contact with you.
Well, thank you for reminding me, Maggie, because every time we give an interview, it's not just it's we give an interview. I am so engaged in connecting with the hosts, with people, their audience, the ripple effect is going to create to uplift and help. I completely forget that 3D aspect. Oh, by the way, I need to let you know how to connect because we're already connected. So that's my way of thinking. So you're very welcome to visit our website, and we have a contact us form there. There's a big portion of our services listed there as well. We have a copper art store. My husband Peter create amazing tool for ascension, helping you to ground, heal, balance yourself, live in more harmony. So the website is infinitehealingfromthestars.com. That would be the best way, the direct way to connect. Send us a message, the contact us format. We're always there for you as much as we serve, as always says, we serve as many as we can and beyond. So definitely.
Excellent. And I have so many more questions. I would love for you to come back another time and have us have another great conversation and share. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. I would be honored to be back at your earliest convenience when it feels the best. I appreciate you, Jamie. I appreciate you, Maggie. And I appreciate everyone, you who are listening and will be listening. We appreciate you as well.
Thank you. Body, mind, and spirit. 3 factors that are crucial to living a healthy, happy life. We're here to help your mind and spirit. Now, let someone help your body. Ember Athletics provides personalized and comprehensive online programs you can use anywhere in the world at any time you want. I use them to prepare for my wedding, but they can help with so much more. Whether that's training for an event or challenge, getting your beach body, improving your health, or just about anything else. Ember Athletics customizes programs for your body, your health, your goals. Let Ember Athletics know you heard about them on this podcast, and you'll get a discount when you sign up for a program. For more information, go to www.emberathleticsofficial.com. That's EMBER athleticsofficial.com. Or you can call and text Chad, the head coach, at 602-628-9305.